Salam to Allah. We're going to discuss another topic called Al-Mufawwada. Al-Mufawwada is called في أحكام المفوضة. Al-Mufawwada breaks down in two parts as it relates to the dowry. So, for example, before we'll mention the first part. As the ulama of Islam, they say يصح تفويض البعد بأن يزوج الرجل ابنته أو تأذن امرأة لوليها أن يزوجها بلا مهر. So the question, can a woman get married without any mahar? Yes. A woman can get married without mahar. That's in tabi. A sister can, for example, the father, and yuzawwij ar-rajulu ibnatahu. If a father wanted to marry his daughter without mahar, or a woman, she sought permission to ta'addan imra'atun li waliyaha, or she said to her wali, I need you to marry me to this person bila mahar, with no mahar. This is one type of, it's called the mufawwada, meaning she entrusted herself in a situation without mahar. In a case like that, she is still entitled to mahr al-mithal, which means she is still entitled to the amount of mahar or dowry that women in her family would normally get. She is still entitled to that. Right. And the next part, وَتَفْوِيضُ الْمَهَرِ. In this one, so we have two types of tafweed. Tafweed al-budr, which means the case with the father or the sister seeking permission from her wali to marry her without dowry. The second case is بأن يزوجها على ما يشاء أحدهما أو أجنبي. So in this case, she says she wants to get married على ما شاء. So for example, a sister wants to get married, so she'll say, I'll get married whatever you have. على ما شاء. Whatever you have to pay, then that's fine. Or he'll say, whatever you want, I'll do it, that's fine. Or she'll say, all right, whatever my wali says to pay, then pay. Or whatever the wakil of my wali says to pay, then you pay. But it's not specific. In this case, she is entitled to maharul mithal, which means she is entitled to the dowry that women in her family would normally get, just bil mujarrad al-aqd, just for the mere fact that they have a contract. But in a situation like this, where the mahar or the dowry is not clear, in this case, sometimes yafriduhu al-hakim biqadrihi. Sometimes a judge can come in and determine how much it could be in a situation like that. Yes.
I'm just seeking clarity because you say it can be, she can be married without one, but she's entitled to.
Yes.
So can you kind of explain that distinction?
So the entitlement means if she wants it, she owes duty. That's what I mean. She's entitled. Meaning she can get married in a contract without there being mahar present, right? Without him, she asked her father to marry off with no mahar at all. That means she didn't get it, but she's entitled to it if she requested it. Huh?
So that's still her right.
It's still her right. Nah. Like. So now I'm going to explain two types of separation in marriage. This is important because right now what we're discussing is a mufawwada in cases where the mahar is not mentioned or not even talked about. In the first case, the sister gets married without any mahar, or she says whatever he wants to pay, that's what it is. So it's not clear, right? All right. So I'm gonna mention two scenarios, and I need you guys to pay very, very careful attention. Very careful attention. Number one, al-mufaraqa bil-wafa. Al-mufaraqa, so marriage is in one or two ways. Either the marriage will end with death, Either the marriage will end with death of either spouse, or the marriage will end with a divorce or a khula or something like that. Correct? Right. So now we're going to talk about, in this situation, is where the marriage is ending by death. The whole issue here, we're talking about what? The dowry. Okay? So, al-mufaraqa bil-wafa, meaning they are being separated by way of death. The question now is, was the mahar musamma or ghayru musamma? Was the mahar or the dowry understood and known, or was the dowry not known? So for example, an example of known dowry is the sister says, I want $100 for my dowry. This is known, right? The example of not known is what? Like mufawwada, like we're talking about here. We'll get married over whatever you want. But no one clarified what she wanted, right? This is important because this is a real life situation that could happen. If you're confused, stop me as we go along. Anyone confused so far? Thank you. So, the mahar or the dowry is either musamma, meaning it is known what it is, or is ghayru musamma, meaning no one knows what it is. She said, we'll get married over whatever you can pay or whatever you can afford, etc. But there's nothing specific mentioned. Okay? Like, now we're going to look at the category of musamma. If the dowry is mentioned, then it falls into one of two categories, with the man or the woman after he passed away or after she passed away. Was he intimate with his spouse? Did he pass away before he was intimate with his spouse? Or did he pass away after he was intimate with his spouse? These are the two scenarios. The first scenario is the mahar is known, meaning the dowry is known, and the man passes away before he was intimate or consummated with his wife. She is deserving of mahar kamil. She is deserving of her complete and total dowry. Is that clear? We're going to mention 4 scenarios here. Right now, we have a couple that's separated based on one of the spouses passing away. The mahar or the dowry was known, and he passed away before they were intimate. She is deserving of the total dowry. So if he passed away, she can go to his family and retrieve the what? The dowry. If she passes away, her family can what? Go to him and receive the dowry. Are we clear on that?
If he was with her or not.
What do you mean? We're talking about before he consummated the marriage. He passes away. Now, the next scenario is the mahar or the dowry is known, and the man passes away after he consummates the marriage, but he didn't pay the dowry yet. She is deserving of what? All of it. So in both cases, where the dowry is mentioned, regardless of whether he consummated the marriage or he didn't consummate the marriage and he passes away, the sister is deserving of what? All of the what? The dowry. She's deserving of all of the dowry. Are we clear on that? Huh? Yeah. The next case. غير مسمى. The next case is the dowry is not mentioned. The next case is the dowry is not mentioned. They got married and she said, whatever you want to pay. Whatever you want to pay. This is called tafweed al-mahar. This is what we're talking about. Tafweed al-mahar. She says to him, you can pay whatever you want to pay. He says, okay, cool. Or, in other words, the dowry is not known. Ghayru musamma. It's not known. In this case, the man passes away before he pays the dowry. He passes away before he pays the dowry, and the dowry is what? Unknown. How much would this sister get in her dowry? Or how much can her family seek from the husband's family to pay her?
The equivalent of what the woman and
Ahsant. She is deserving of mahrul mithal. This means that she is deserving of the dowry of women in her family, what they would normally get, the complete dowry. Right. Let's say, for example, the dowry is not mentioned and he passes away after he consummates the marriage. Obviously what? The dowry is the full dowry, meaning mahrul mithal, because we don't know what it is, so it would be the dowry of the women in her family. Are we clear on that? So the ulama, they break this into two categories. Al-mufaraqa bil-wafa wa al-mufaraqa fil-hayat. Meaning, a marriage comes to an end by way of death, or the marriage comes to an end by way of both parties still living. So we needed to clear away the marriage coming to an end by way of death first. Are we clear on that? Right. The next case, al-mufaraqa fil hayat, meaning the marriage comes to an end while they are both living. The dowry is either musamma or ghayru musamma, meaning the dowry is either known or the dowry is not what? Unknown. Right. So let's say, for example, a man marries a woman. This is also a review of what we did last week. A man marries a woman. The dowry is known. She says $100. He says, okay. He divorces her before he consummates the marriage. How much of the dowry is she deserving? You said all of it. Half. Well, a person that's paying attention will say, well, wait a minute. You just said that if the dowry was mentioned and they didn't consummate and he died, she would be deserving of all of it. But if they're living, then she's deserving of what? Half. Who said all of it? She's deserving of half. Okay? You confusing me.
No, what are you saying? Is it half, or are you saying is it all of it? If they're both living?
If they're both living, it's half. We covered this in detail in the last class. Huh?
The house.
Yes, with the house. We covered that in detail in the last class. Because death involved, there's a difference. The difference is death. And as it relates to living, then there's nusus, there's text to support that. And with regards to death, then there's also text to support that. Is that clear? Right. So then, back to the living. We're going to say this again. A man divorces his wife. The dowry is known. The dowry is $100. He did not consummate the marriage. And he divorces her. She is deserving of what? Half. Half of what? The dowry. Mahrul mithal, or whatever she wanted. Because we said that the dowry was known. Huh? Whatever she wanted. So if they agreed it was musamma, meaning she said the dowry is $100. For example, just to keep it easy. He marries her, but he doesn't consummate the marriage. He divorces her. She is deserving of what? Huh? $50. She's deserving of half. All right, that's the first case. The second case. A man divorces the wife and he consummates the marriage. After he consummates the marriage, he divorces the wife. She is deserving of what? All of it. Are we clear? Now, the next category is what we're going to get into. Our issue today is called al-mufawwada. Mufawwada or tafweed al-mahar, which means the mahar is not known and he said whatever you want. In this case, it's called ghayru musamma, meaning the dowry is not known. So pay attention to the scenario here. A sister marries a brother. They don't agree on a mahar. Basically, she says, give me whatever you want. He says, cool. So they get married. But the dowry is not known. Right? So now, before he consummates the marriage or whatever, he divorces her. What is she deserving now? If you recall, if the man passed away, right? And it happens before he consummated the marriage, then she is deserving of what? All of the dowry. that's not mentioned, meaning so it will be the equivalent of women in her family. But in a case like this, where they're both living, and he doesn't mention the dowry, and she wants out of the marriage, or he wants out, he divorces her, what is she deserving of here? Or is she deserving of anything?
Half. Was this before or after consummation?
This is before consummation. Do you guys understand? First of all, before we talk about it, I need you to understand the issue. Is it clear? All right, so here's the scenario. A brother marries a sister. The brother says, you know what? Before he consummates the marriage, he divorces her. But they never discuss the specifics of the dowry. What does she deserve in this case? You say half. You say mahar mithl. Meaning the dowry similar to the woman or family. Right. Anyone else? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically talks about this issue in the Quran. Right? Allah Jalla wa Ala says, وَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ إِن طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ مَن لَمْ تُمَسُّوهُنَّ أَوْ تَفْرِضُوا لَهُمْ فَرِيضَةً. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says, in this particular case, there's no harm on you if you divorce a woman before you consummate the marriage. He said, but you should pay her a faridah, meaning you should pay her something. So the ulama of Islam, when they speak about this issue, many of them say in a case like this, specifically to the madhab of Imam Ahmed, there are two positions. And I'm giving you guys a summary of what we're talking about today, and we want to read more about it. There's two positions. Number one, the position of the madhab is that the woman is paid a mut'ah. And we're not talking about a marriage mut'ah that everyone may have heard with the Shia. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a mut'ah here is a gift. He gives her a gift. If he divorces the sister before he consummates the marriage, and the dowry is not known, they didn't agree on any particular dowry, then he will give her a gift. Well, is that clear? Like, that's one position, and that's the position that's mu'tamid, the relied upon position in the school of Imam Ahmed, ibn Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala. And then there's another position. The next position is that she is deserving of half of mahr al-mithl, meaning she'll be deserving of half of what the women in her family would usually get for their dowry. Is that clear? Like, then she could look at the women in her community, the women in her city. There's always something to use as a scale. There's always something to use as a scale. Like, the last part. The dowry is not known. He consummates the marriage, and then he divorces her. What is she deserving of? He consummates the marriage, the dowry is not known, and he divorces the sister. What is she deserving of? Now, no half. All of what?
The women in her family.
All of the dowry, mahr mithl. All of the dowry that a woman in her family would normally get. Is that clear? Is that clear? All right, so we just covered 8 scenarios. Do we have to go over them again? The difference between life and death? Or does everybody got it? Huh? Go over it again? All right, we'll do it again. So we had, the first one we said, the marriage is being separated by way of death. And tabihu, pay attention, there's a difference rulings between life and death. There's a different ruling between life and death. If a man and a woman separate because one of them passed away, the dowry is known. And he passes away before he consummates the marriage, she is deserving of what? Half. All of it. Why? Because he passed away. So she's an inheritor. She deserves all of it. Okay? Now, he passes away after he consummates. Then obviously there's no discrepancy. She is deserving of what? All of it should. All of it should. Right? So then, if a man passes away before he consummates the marriage and they know what the dowry is, then she is deserving of what? All of it. If the man passes away, he knows what the dowry is, and it's after he consummated, she is deserving of what? All of it. Like, the next case. The dowry is not known. They do not know what the dowry, they didn't agree. He said, she said, I'll marry you whatever you can pay. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay? In this case, he passes away before he consummates the marriage. She is deserving of what? All of what the women in her family will get. Ahsant. In the next case, he passes away after he consummates, but the dowry is not known. She's deserving of what? All of what the women in her family will get. Mahar al-mithl. The word in Arabic is mithl. Mithl means similar. Mahar is dowry. The similar dowry of the women in her family. She's deserving of all of it. So then, in the case of the husband passing away or the wife passing away, let's say for example the sister passed away. Because you mentioned the husband, but it's the same, the husband or the wife. Let's say the wife passes away before he consummates the marriage, and they didn't determine the dowry, etc. Who does the husband now pay the dowry to? To the tarika. The tarika is her inheritors. They're entitled to that. Is that clear? Right. So all of that has to do with marriage ending by way of death. The next case, in which is what we're discussing, yes.
Is there a certain way that you have to break that down?
Break what down?
If she passes and the dowry is not established, then is there a certain way that he pays it to her and her?
So, all right. So in terms of how her family member distributes her wealth to her inheritors, that's a whole different conversation. However, there's something called a tarika. A tarika is like the pot of wealth that belongs to her or him. So that money will go to whoever's responsible for her estate. Okay? And then how that's broken down, that's a whole nother class. That's a whole classes. All right? That's a whole nother how when someone passes away, how their wealth is dispersed is deeper than what you think. It's very intricate and very, very detailed. So that's as it relates to living and dying. So in all those cases, regardless of whether the dowry is known or the dowry is unknown, the sister is required and she gets all of the dowry. Whether it's mahr al-mithl, yani dowry similar to women in her family, or it's known. Is that clear? This is specifically to what? Death. As it relates to living, if the dowry is known and the man divorces his wife before he consummates the marriage, she is deserving of what? Half. Half of the dowry, and this is what we spoke about a couple weeks ago in great detail. We gave a whole class on that, how that's broken down. Right. The next one, if he divorced her after he consummated the marriage, then it's clear that she is deserving of what? All of the dowry that was mentioned. Are we clear? Right. The next half is the dowry is not mentioned, meaning we don't know. She said, I'll marry you for whatever you can afford. No one knows what that is. He divorces her before he consummates the marriage. The ulama, or the scholars on the school of Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, they have two positions. The first position, that is mu'tamid in the madhab of Imam Ahmed, is that she is deserving of a mut'ah. A mut'ah here is a gift. A gift. She's deserving of a gift. Not necessarily half of anything, but a gift. The second position is she is deserving of half of the mahr al-mithl, meaning she is deserving of half of the dowry of the women in her family. And then the last case, obviously, if he divorces her and they don't discuss the dowry after he consummated the marriage, then she is deserving of what? all of the dowry of the women in her family would normally get, she would actually get. Is that clear? Like, that's pretty much the whole class for today. But we're going to read through the text, inshallah, and stop at some points that we can discuss, inshallah ta'ala. Right. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى وإن تراضيا قبله جاز ويصح إبراؤها من المهر المثل قبل فرضه. In this case, if the man marries the woman and they don't mention the amount of the dowry, however she's happy and he's happy, then jaz is permissible, right? ويصح إبراؤها من مهر المثل قبل فرضه. And before it gets to the point, before he gets to the point where she says, I want this or I want that, if he just gave her mahr al-mithal, what the other women in her family would normally get, then that would be fine. وَمَنْ مَاتَ مِنْهُمَا قَبْلَ إِصَابَةٍ وَالْفَرْض وَوَرِثَهُ الْآخَرُ وَلَهَا مَهْرُ نِسَائِهَا. This is the exact same thing that we just spoke about, but it says here, whoever dies from the husband or the spouse, whoever dies before them, whoever dies between them first, the husband or the wife, قبل الإصابة, before they are intimate with each other, وَرَثَهُ الْآخَرِ, then the other one will inherit from the other one. One will inherit from the other, like we just mentioned, if they passed away. One will inherit from the other. فَلَهَا أَوْ وَلَهَا مَهْرُ نِسَائِهَا, then she will get the mahr of the women in her family. Meaning, mahrul mithal. Is that clear? Yes.
How long after the marriage does the husband have to pay dowry? Is there a specific time limit?
How long does the husband have to pay the dowry after the wife passes away?
No, after the marriage.
Oh, after the marriage, as soon as he can.
There's no specific time frame.
If they never gave a specific time frame, no. But see, this is what would happen. If we lived in the land of Muslim courts, this would be a legal matter in which he would be requested or required to pay by way of the court. So the court or the judges will give him a certain amount of time. In some cases in Saudi Arabia, they may even put him in jail until he can pay that money or get his family up to pay that money. That's not something that people take lightly with regards to Islam and owing people money. Now, like, وَإِن طَلَّقَهَا قَبْلَ الدُّخُولِ فَلَهَا الْمُتْعَةِ. In this case, the dowry, as we just mentioned, the dowry is not known, but the husband divorces her before he consummates the marriage. Then he mentioned here, فَلَهَا الْمُتْعَةِ. Then she is deserving of a gift. She is deserving of a gift. طيب. طيب. And it says she is deserving of a gift بِقَدْرِ يُسْرِ زَوْجِهَا أَوْ عُسْرِهِ. She is deserving of a gift depending on how poor or how wealthy that husband is. How poor or how wealthy that husband is. And it says, وَيَسْتَقِرُّ مَهْرُ الْمِثْلِ بِالدُّخُولِ. As long as he consummates the marriage, then out of aqal, or the least, she is deserving of the dowry of the women like her and her family, what they would usually get. It says, وَبَعْدَهُ, it says, وَإِن طَلَّقَهَا بَعْدَ الدُّخُولِ. Let's say, for example, the man divorces her. They don't know the dowry. They never discuss the dowry, but she knows that he owes her. And then he divorces her after that. It says, فَلَا مُتْعَةِ, meaning he cannot come and give her a gift. Rather, she is deserving of بَلْ مَهْرُ الْمِثْلِ. She has to be paid the dowry of the women in her family, what they would normally get. Now the next issue, it says, وَإِذَا افترقا في الفاسد قبل الدخول أو خلوته فلا مهر. Let's say, for example, a man and a wife, they separate because their marriage is fasid. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Their marriage is fasid. hold on, remember this term fasid, we're going to come back to that. They separate because their marriage is fasid, qabla al-dukhul, and they, before he consummated the marriage or was alone with her, fala mahar. Then in this case, she is not to get a mahar. Thank you. Okay? PJ?
Does a man have to disclose that he's coming into money?
Does a man have to, you want to say that to the end, or is it relevant now? Thank you.
Can you repeat what you just said?
What I just said or what he just said?
What you just said.
What did I just say?
Can you repeat what you just said? Not what he said, but what you said.
Oh, the word fasid. Yeah, I said hold on to that term, we're going to come back to that.
Okay.
Or before that. So a man and a wife, they separate because the marriage is fasid. Right? We're going to talk about that. Fasid means it's invalid. Right? The marriage is invalid. So they say in this case, before he consummates the marriage, they separate, even though the marriage, so the marriage is invalid, and they separate before they consummate. In this case, she is not deserving of any what? Any mahar, any dowry at all. Is that clear? Right. So, how many people here have heard of the term a nikah batil or nikah fasid? Is anyone here familiar with those two terms, fasid and batil? Have you heard that before? Huh? So let's say batil means false, fasid also means false. What's the difference between the two? Does anyone know? Or did you know there was a difference between the two? They were synonymous. Everyone understood those terms to be synonymous, right? So there is a difference between the two. It says, and this is a nikah al-batil. What is a nikah that's batil? It's very important that we understand the differences between these two. A nikah that's batil and the nikah that's fasid. If we translate both of them, they both mean that these marriages are incorrect or invalid. But one of them is a stronger invalidation than the other one. One of them is a stronger invalidation than the other one. So for example, a nikah al-batil ma kana mujma'un ala butlanihi. A nikah that's batil, there is a scholarly consensus that this marriage is invalid. Meaning there's no difference of opinion among any scholars of Islam that this marriage is invalid. This is called a nikah that is batil. A nikah that is batil. An example of which would be a man marries a fifth wife. A man has 5 wives. A man marries his sister. A man marries his wife and her sister simultaneously. There's no difference of opinion ala butlan that this is batil. There's no difference of opinion that this is what? Batil, meaning false. This is called a nikah that is batil. The next case, a nikah that is fasid. Ma ikhtalafa fihi. A nikah that is fasid is a nikah that is incorrect, but you may find some ulama that hold it to be permissible. Well, this is considered a nikah that the scholars ikhtalafu, that there's a difference of opinion on its authenticity or not. What would be an example of that? Ahsant. A nikah bila wali. A woman being married without having a wali. This is a difference of opinion among not many, but more specifically the school of Imam Abi Hanifa. They hold the position that a woman could get married without a wali. However, this is a minority position historically from Ahlul Ilm. And even we have a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ saying to the contrary. Yet, the Salaf, meaning the scholars of the past, still respected that position enough to consider it to be fasid and not batil. Is that clear? Now, tfaddal.
As far as the wali situation is concerned, those of us that attend class are aware that the wali can only come from 5.
Can we come to the end of the class? We address that. Just make a note, unless it's relevant to this point. Is relevant? Tfaddal.
I mean, as far as an impermissible example, because it
Right.
So, what if she is under the impression that she doesn't know that the wali has come from the father's side, and she has a wali that she thinks but it's from the mother's side? Is that an example of impermissibility?
Does she have a wali on her father's side?
No, I'm saying.
Listen to what I'm saying, Sheikh. Does she have a wali from her father's side? Does that person exist?
I'm just using that as an example.
No. Because you made a statement, I want to know. Does that wali exist?
Not from her father's side.
Okay, so if the wali from her father's side does not exist, then at this point she has options. The option could be to go to an Islamic center and have that center represent her. But if she feels like she's not comfortable with them, then she can choose someone she thinks that's going to best represent her. In this case, if she chooses a family member on her mother's side that is Muslim, that's going to look out for her affairs, and that wouldn't fall into this category.
Okay, but what if she doesn't know about this situation from it having to be from the father's side? She may have somebody that's in line to be the wali on the father's side, but she's not aware that it has to be.
Right. So in summary, if a woman chooses a wali, someone to represent her, and the person she chooses to represent her is not deserving because she has family members on her father's side to represent her, then this could fall into that category. Okay? This could fall into a nikah that is fasid. Now, and it says, وَفِي مَذْهَبْ مَالِكْ النِّكَاح. So according to the school of Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, النِّكَاح الْفَاسِد قَدْ يُصَحِّحُ أَمَّا بَاطِلْ فَلَا. If a nikah is fasid, let's say, for example, in this case, the sister chose to get married with a brother in the masjid to represent her, but her father's brother is a Muslim. Her father's brother is a Muslim, but she chose some other brother in the masjid to represent her. Technically, the nikah will be fasid. It will be fasid. According to the school of Imam Malik, that this fasid nikah can be fixed. Meaning, she can go get the uncle to represent her, they do it again, class. You can fix it. Amma, as for a nikah that is batil, there's no fixing it. There's no way you can have 5 wives. There's no way you can marry your wife's sister and her at the same time. You understand? So in this case, a nikah that is fasid is a possibility of rectification. Whereas a nikah that is batil, there's no way of rectification. طيب. Likewise, النكاح الباطل ما كان محرما من أساسه كالزواج بأحد من محارمه أو زواج في العدة. Another example of a nikah that is batil is that a woman get married in her iddah. This is batil. The ulama consider this to be a nikah that is batil. A woman getting married in her iddah. طيب. والنكاح الفاسد ما كان حلالا في أصله. As for a nikah that is fasid, the origin is that that man can marry that woman. في أصله إلا أنه اختل فيه ركن من أركانه. Except that that particular marriage is missing a condition. And in this case, it would be the marriage does not have the wali. The wali is not involved. So let's go back to the text here. It says, إذا افترق في الفاسد قبل الدخول والخلوة فلا مهر. In this case, if 2 couples got married and they did not consummate the marriage and it was a fasid nikah, meaning she got married without a wali, like the scenario of the brother, in this case, they are to be separated. As the ulama say, فَرَّقَ بَيْنَهُمَا, that they are to be separated. They are to be separated. In that case, they are to be separated. فَلَا مَهَرٍ. Then she's not deserving of any mahar. If you recall previously, we said that if they separated and they knew the mahar, then she would get half of the dowry. Right or wrong? Did we say that? Yeah. Okay, in this case, she would not get nothing. She will not get nothing. Well, then, is that clear? Right. It says, وَبَعْدَ And the next part, it says, وَبَعْدَ أَحَدِهِمَا يَجِبُ الْمُسَمَّى. Let's say their their marriage is facet, but it's after they consummated the marriage. In this case, the sister is deserving of what? The mahar musamma. Whatever she requested in her mahar, she is deserving of it. Is that clear? Or no? Yes. Let's say, وَبَعْدَ أَحَدِهِمَا يَجِبُ الْمُسَمَّى. In this case, if the woman and the man, the nikah was facet, it was not a healthy marriage, it was not valid, the marriage. The husband didn't pay the dowry, he now is required to pay whatever she requested in her dowry. Is that clear? Meaning, it's going to be fi dhimmatihi, meaning he is responsible for that. Is that clear? Right.
They still
Is that clear,
required to be
Sheikh?
separated though, right?
I'm sorry?
They still required to be
Yeah, they're still required to be separated. Like the next case, وَيَجِبُ مَهْرُ الْمِثْلِ. Yes. وَيَجِبُ مَهْرُ الْمِثْلِ لِمَنْ وُطِئَتْ بِشُبْهَةٍ أَوْ زِنًا كُرْهًا. All right, this is another issue. If a man, so they give some scenarios here. What the shubha? You got an example of that, Sheikh? What the shubha? Could it be like? Could we use like a nikah facet method? Could you stop with what the shubha method? Mumkin. Right. So we have a scenario of what the shubha. A man marries a woman with a contract that is facet. A man marries a woman and the contract is facet, meaning she didn't have a wali. But according to them, they thought that they were on the right path in what they were doing. So this is called the Wat Shubha. This is a chapter that is specifically discussed in the school, in the books of fiqh. The man and the woman that are married, they believe that they are married halal. That's very important to understand that. They believe what they did was halal. But in reality, their contract may have been batil. Not batil, facet. It may be facet, meaning there is a problem in their marriage. They have a child out of that. Is that child considered a child of zina? Or is that child considered a child from a nikah? In this case, this child will be considered a child from nikah because it's considered what a shubha, a doubtful intercourse or doubtful intimacy where they thought they were doing something correct. In this case, she is required to get the dowry, the full dowry that she deserves. Is that clear? All right. The next scenario. The next scenario is rape. Huh?
وكمان ظنها زوجته.
طيب كيف يعني كيف يشبه وظنها زوجته كيف يعني لا أحد يصدق هذا. طيب, so he gave me an example. A man, shit. No one. He gave me an example that some of the fuqaha or the scholars use, but this example, no one's going to buy that in our society. I'll mention the example. This is why I didn't mention that. The example is a man is intimate with a woman that's not his wife, but he thinks she's his wife. Twin sister. This is what the fuqaha use. So he may think it's his wife, but the twin sister knows it's not her husband. So for him, it could be what the shubha, but for her to be zina. Yeah, you see, he opens up a door, right? But the next case, the next scenario is rape. Okay? If a man rapes a woman, if a man were to rape a woman in Islam, understand how just our religion is. The scholars of Islam, they understand that these things happen. It happened historically, it happens now, and it will continue to happen in the future, right? In this case, if a man was brought in front of a judge or court in Islam and he raped the sister, first of all, he's going to be punished. He'll probably be lashed, put in prison, etc. But then in addition to that, he is now required to pay dowry. He is now required to pay dowry. Is that clear? The dowry will be considered mahar al-mithl. Mahar al-mithl. لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم فلها مهر بما استحل من فرجها. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said an authentic hadith in Tirmidhi, فَلَهَا مَهْرُ بِمَا اسْتَحَلَّ فَرْجُهَا, that she is deserving of a dowry if any man has intercourse with that woman. At that point in time, she is deserving of a dowry, regardless of whether it was voluntarily or involuntarily. That money has to be paid. That money has to be paid. Now,
Validity of a marriage. Is a Nikah valid if the brother that's getting married performs the Nikah, even with witnesses and a wife?
Sheikh, we'll talk. That's not for this right here.
Okay.
All right. Like, because the reason why, the reason why I'm saying that is because from that answer to that question, that's an offshoot of a whole nother chapter that we didn't even get to yet. All right. So one of the things about marriage, this could be a never-ending course because there's offshoots of questions that people may have. But if people were patient and stuck into the chapter that we're doing, all of those things will eventually be covered, inshallah. Like, it says, وَيَجِبُ مَعْهُ وَلَا يَجِبُ مَعْهُ عَرْشُ الْبَكَارَةٍ. And so now the ulama talk about, in this case, not only is he deserving of a mahr al-mithl, meaning that the woman that was oppressed in this case, she deserving of mahr al-mithl. Now the question is, well, if she was a virgin, should there be more money paid on top of that? That's a discussion that some of the Salaf, they have. Well, if she was a virgin and she was raped, is she required more money on top of that? According to the school of Imam Ahmed, they say la yajibu, meaning it's not wajib that you pay arsh al-bakarata, meaning the amount, the difference that it would be if she was a virgin. Because in cases in Islam, the dowry in Islam is generally more for a woman that is a virgin versus a woman that is not a virgin. طيب. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى وللمرأة منع نفسها حتى تقبض صداقها الحل. The next issue is, let's say for example, a sister gets married to a brother. They agree on the dowry. The dowry is $500. He didn't say, look, I need to delay the dowry. He just said, yeah, the dowry is $500. So in this sense, the sister has a right not to go to her husband until he pays that dowry. Is that clear? I'll say it again. Let's say, for example, the sister says they agree to the dowry is $500. She says, cool. He didn't say, give me a time period. That was never discussed. He said, you know, the dowry $500, so it's left up in the air. So the fact that it's left up in the air, she can be like, okay, well, when you get it, then that's when I'll come to you. And he can't demand her to come to his house right now, or he can't, in our society, move into her house, right? He can't, he can't do any of that, until, you gotta keep it with the times, right? He can't do any of that until that's clear, until that dowry is paid. So she can say, I'm cool. I'm not coming to you until you pay that dowry. Is that clear? Fine. So it says, فَإِنْ كَانَ مُؤَجَّلًا. However, she has to come to him in other cases. Let's say, for example, he says, I'm going to pay you the dowry, but it's going to be, I'll give it to you in 6 months. And she agrees to that, then she has to go to her husband. So, yeah, intimate, meaning khalwa. She has to go to her husband. So a person might say, well, wait a minute. You just mentioned that if he didn't pay the dowry, she don't have to go. Now you're saying if he delays it, she have to go? No. Pay attention to the difference. The first case is they didn't agree to delay it. He just said, I got you. I got you. How much is the dowry? $500? I got you. Cool. So you think his wife's coming tonight? She's like, why aren't you coming tonight? She tells him, I got you. When when I get that money, I got you. Right? So both sides are saying I got you, but she's still in the house waiting for you to pay that money. Right? That's one case. The second case is he tells her, I'm going to give you this dowry in 6 months. If she agrees to that, the ulama say she was okay with that delay, then she must go to her husband then. While there. Like, the next case, وَقَبْلَ تَسْلِيمٍ أَوْ سَلَّمَتْ نَفْسَهَا تَبَرُّعًا فَلَيْسَ لَهَا مَنْعُهَا. So, or he says, for example, I got you, but they don't really discuss it, but he delays it. She'll just say, it's no big deal, I'm still going to go to her husband. Once she gets there, and she says, he'll give it to me whenever he gets it, she can't change her mind now and be like, no, I'm cool, I'm going back. I just listened to this class and it said I ain't had to come to you. If you ain't paid the dowry, I'm out. Huh? You can't do that then. This is all prior to. Is that clear? Like, فَإِنْ أَعْصَرَ بِالْمَهْرِ الْحَالِ فَلَهَا فَسْخ. Now let's say, for example, and this is the last part of this class. Let's say, for example, the brother says, I give you $500 for your dowry. She's like, all right, cool, I'll take it. فَإِنْ أَعْصَرَ بِالْمَهْرِ. If he's broke. Right now, he's broke. He doesn't have the money to pay her right now. But he said, I got you. So she marries him thinking that he has the $500, and she realizes that he doesn't. In this case, فَلَهَا الْفَسْخ. And she can seek an annulment from the marriage, وَلَوْ بَعْدَ الدُّخُولِ. Even if it's after he consummated the marriage, وَلَا يَفْسَقُهُ إِلَّا حَاكَمٌ. But she cannot get that separation unless and except by way of a hakam, or a person that rules in their affair. Any questions? All right, what was your question, Sheikh?
It says, does a man have to disclose that he's coming into money?
Does a man have to disclose that he's coming into money?
Or expecting an inheritance, whatever, soon? Does he have to tell her that he's going to be getting money soon if the woman is agreeing to a dowry that he can afford?
Kafir.
So basically, he tells her he know he might be getting money in 6 months. She don't know he get money in 6 months. So he say, listen, this is what I can afford right now. Right? He don't say right now. He just says, this is what I can afford. So he gives what he can afford. Yani hadi. Or do he have to tell her that he's going to be getting money in 6 months?
Also, the rule of thumb is that a man doesn't have to disclose to his wife how much money he has. Period. I don't know of anything in Islam that will legislate that a man is forced to disclose how much money he has to his wife. I don't know of anything that would require that. Allah knows best. The only situation I know of, if a woman is not getting her haqq and she has children and a family to take care of, then there's a hadith of him going to Abu Sufyan, taking money out of his pocket to pay for whatever needs that she needed to deal with. As far as him disclosing to his wife, in the next 6 months I'm about to come into some money, well, currently he doesn't have the money. And I don't know of anything in Islam that would force him to disclose that information. If he wanted to, then he can. That's on him. If he chooses not to, then that's on him. And Allah knows best now. When a sister's raped, her rapist will have to pay her a dowry. If the sister can conceive a child from her rape, the child is considered a child of zina, even though he paid her a dowry. Fine. The question was, when a sister is raped, you said her rapist will have to pay her a dowry. If the sister conceived a child from her rape, is she considered, meaning a child of zina, or even though he paid her dowry? Even if it was zina, he still would have to pay dowry, regardless of whether a child was conceived or not. Is the child considered from zina? Shuf. Allahu A'lam. The child would either be considered.
It's not zina from her side.
Yeah, but so essentially it wouldn't be considered zina from her side, but it would be considered zina from the man's side. But at the end of the day, the hukm is the hukm. Yani, هل يسمي هذا ولد الزنا أو لا؟ الله أعلم. الله أعلم. Technically, the child wouldn't لا ينسب إلى أبيه. The child would not take the name of the father because they were not married legislatively, and she was raped outside of her will. So Allah Alam. It would seem like the child would be, but Allah knows best. Now,
let me know if this is upcoming in a further class or something before you. In the case of the Nikah that is fasted and they are to be separated, is there a limit on the time they have to fit? Because that's a fixable situation in most circumstances.
it's coming. It's coming. So in these cases, we're gonna. So next week, Abu Zaad is gonna take a chapter in this course. He's gonna do Bab Walima Tulurs. Huh? He's gonna do that chapter next week, inshallah. The chapter of I guess, how do you translate Walima Tulurs? KP told you that. Yeah. Oh, the Walima. He's gonna do a whole chapter on the Walima. Once we finish that, then I'll reconvene and we'll do how a husband is supposed to live with his spouse. Then we'll talk about if a man has multiple wives, how he's supposed to spend his nights. How do you divide the nights? That's going to be a problem. Fussle in the shoes. If you have a woman that doesn't listen to her husband, what's the requirements versus the lack thereof? And then we go through the chapter of the khul'u. What is a khul'a in detail? And then we'll cover, and then after that, we'll move into the whole book of talaq, the whole book of divorce. The whole book of divorce. In any event, if there are any other questions, now, tafadhal. A wali question. Right.
So say a sister does have a wali on the father's side. The father's dead, but the uncle's in jail. Do we have to visit him and have to sit down here? Or
So the brother said, if the father is dead, but the father's brother is Muslim, but he's incarcerated. So he wants to know, how do we, in other words, do we still consider him the wali even though he's incarcerated, etc.? So the response to that is, he is still, obviously, and I'm saying that she doesn't have any brothers, she doesn't have anybody else except for the uncle. I'm assuming that's the case. If that's the case, and all she has is the uncle, he is still the wali and still need to be consulted. If he cannot fulfill the duties that is required, then he can select a wakil. Wadah? He can get a wakil to represent him in this affair, and that wakil will communicate to him what he deemed, whatever he feels is necessary. Is that clear? Right. Follow.
To piggyback off the question that you got from the sister side about the rape and the dowry, is there a limit set on the dowry for the woman who gets raped, or can she?
Mahrul mithal. Anytime, so he said, what about the case when a woman is raped? How do you determine the amount of dowry in that case? In that case, the dowry will go back to dowry would be mahrul mithal, meaning the amount of dowry that woman and her family would get. Women and her family would get. Any other questions? Right. So next week we're going to cover the walima, inshallah. You ready?
What day?
Next Monday.
Oh, he's doing Monday class. Sure.
Beginning what recorded about the what was the question about returning, the part about returning.
Okay, so he said the beginning of the class wasn't recorded. So, and I mentioned it, I'll mention it again, so for the people that are watching. A few weeks ago, we had a question. The question was, if a sister marries a brother, and she says to him, I want you to teach me Arabic for her dowry. The brother agrees, and he teaches her Arabic. This is before he consummates the marriage, before he's alone with her. He teaches her Arabic. It could be a whole year. After he teaches her Arabic, he says, you know what? I don't want to be married to her. and he did not consummate the marriage and he wasn't alone with her. He divorces her. In this case, we said that what? In a case like this, she has to return what? He has to return half of the dowry. In a case like this, the dowry is ma'nawi, meaning it's nothing tangible. How can she pay back something that's not tangible? In this case, she has to look up and research the price or the amount that it would cost to learn the amount of Arabic that she learned. So if there's an institution that teaches Arabic, she should go there and get tested on her level of Arabic. If she goes there and finds out if it's 5 levels, and she tested up to level 4. So then she would have to look at the cost from level 1, 2, 3, 4, add all of that up, and then pay half of that back to the husband. If she wanted to learn Quran, and he taught her 6 ajza of the Quran, or nisful Quran, or etc. However much it would have cost to learn that amount of Quran at a Quranic institution, then she will be required to pay half of that back. Let's say, for example, a sister wanted a khula'a and her husband taught her the entire Quran. Then she would have to pay back the amount that it would cost to study the entire Quran if she had to pay. This is how ma'nawi, this is how things are repaid if they are not tangible. If they are not tangible. Same thing with learning fiqh. Same thing with learning anything else from the deen, that she will be required to pay back the amount that it will cost to learn that thing. Yes?
What if he says he don't want anything back, he just wants to go his way and she...
Then that's his choice.
It's not a bid'ah.
La, it's not a bid'ah. If he says, cool, you don't have to pay me anything, just go, la bas. There's no harm in that. However, his right is to get back half of what that would have cost. Nah.
After Nikah Fasid with Nikah Batil, the woman is under the center's guardianship, but she marries without you, and she appoints somebody else without you knowing.
So a sister is under the guardianship of the center, meaning IMFC, for example. Okay?
She marries without.
She marries without informing the center.
Exactly.
And she chooses someone else as her wali during that process without letting us know. But la, sahih. Yeah. She doesn't have a contract with us. Yeah, she can choose, listen, pay attention, Akhi. She can choose whoever best represents her. For whatever reason, she might think the center doesn't best represent her needs. That's her choice. Huh? That's her choice. She's not required to come here. Huh? Another thing is,
because people, some people under the understanding, that's a problem.
Like, why is it a problem? A sister is not required to go to a particular masjid to get married. Just like, we hear people are testing sisters or brothers. Hey, before you can come here and get married, you gotta free yourself from this one and that one. This is all batil. It's all batil. Total falsehood. Total. And it's oppression. It's oppression. Fine. Now, go ahead.
I don't want to burn you out.
No, go ahead.
Is it permissible to look at the woman who you plan to marry before you propose to her?
He said, is it permissible to look at the woman that you plan on marrying before you propose to her? Absolutely. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, "Undru ilayha ila ma tad'u ila nikahiha." Okay, Maqal sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, look at her and look at that which will entice you to marry her.
With or without the wali?
The wali should be present. Sure. There's no laws or restrictions, but when you ask a question like that, I understand that we live in a society where everybody's slick, right? So the slick response would be, okay, if I can do this, then, you understand what I'm saying? So I'm not saying it's haram to look at the sister without her wali present. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying her wali should be involved in the process. However way they do it, that's how you guys do it.
Okay, so, I mean...
Shoot, let me explain something else to you. In the land of the Muslims, things are done in a particular way. It's structured, how things are done. Unfortunately, in our society, things are not structured. So we wing it as a society, which is unfortunate, but you know, with time and education and us getting our act together, inshallah, we'll improve on that process. But when we ask questions, a lot of times we have other motives. I'm not questioning your motives, I'm saying in general, right? So at the end of the day, it's upon all of us to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes and errors, but it's upon us to fear Allah azza wa jal to the best of our ability. So when you ask a question like that, know that the response, that whoever's asking a question should be muttaqi. Like, I mean, you want to marry a woman that is going to eventually be the mother of your kids, raise your tribe, go to paradise with, help you if you're doing something wrong. So if it's not all the way on the up and up, then there might be a problem.
The reason why I asked you that question is because what would be the point of being able to see her unclothed?
Yeah. What do you mean unclothed? What do you mean unclothed? D-robe. When you say D-robe, what is that? Who said that? Who said that? What do you mean D-robe, Dahi? Ishrah, what does that mean? You mean with no clothes on?
No clothes.
Nah, many of the ulama say that's haram, yeah.
Yeah, you got some people that do it.
Yeah, actually, listen. Many of the ulama say looking at a woman outside of her awrah is haram. You're not married to her.
Okay,
So, listen. You could find a position to support what you want. It might be shad. You might find whoever holds that position, there are statements from some of the salaf that might have held that position, but it's murjuh, meaning majority of Ahlul Ilm said this is a khata. This is not correct.
that's why I asked, well, what would be the
Okay, so I didn't know that's what you meant. I thought you meant just looking at her, period.
I'm not doing no curveball, but my
Right.
point is, it would go back to the.
But this is what we call, as many of the ulama, they call this li'ba, playing. He playing. This is why, and I mean, honestly, if a brother tells a sister, look, before we get married, I need to see you with no clothes on, like, you automatically start off disrespecting her. What father is going to allow their daughter to be in a situation like, they might beat you up. They might come at your top for that. That's just totally disrespectful. But you can get that off on sisters that don't have walis, though. You can get that off on them, because they don't know any better. They might just came to Islam, they realize, oh, well, Islam, you can, oh, my sister's a Sunnah. Oh, really? Okay. So now she feels exposed and exploited, right? Let somebody do that to your sister, or your mother, or your daughter. Huh? It's going to be a problem. And that's the problem in our community, in our society. We don't respect our women in general. We don't respect them.
So, that's why
Just think about this. Think about this. Just think about this. You want to marry a woman that's just going to get butt naked in front of you? You don't even know her? You want to marry her? Really? In your mind, you don't even know this sister, but you telling her to take all her clothes off. She takes all her clothes off in front of you, and you're like, yes, I want to spend the rest of my life with her. Is that what you're thinking? Huh? We don't. That's not what you're thinking. It's not what you're thinking. You're thinking, she crazy. And as a man, in your mind, man, she did all that. That's what a man's thinking. She's probably thinking like, damn, I got to do this to get married? Then we wonder why women walk away from Islam. What kind of religion is going to force a woman to do that? That's what they're thinking. Huh? So in reality, it's upon us to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I understand in our society, we shout out. We're shout out in our society. It is what it is, right? But obviously, we all need to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We got to respect our religion. Right? Respect our women in our religion. Respect ourselves. Huh? And so, yeah, I get it. That's a problem. It's a real problem. Like, any other questions about that? Khalas. Any other questions, Ikhwan? Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.